I do not like Michelin star restaurants. This was the only one I would like die to go back to. I had cancer when I was 27. 27 to 28 in my life was like defined by going to get chemo, radiation. I cannot eat this on camera without throwing up.
Do you think about AI at all?
Gonna get me canceled. They came back and said, we have a slot for you in China, but you leave in 10 days.
Oh my gosh.
Do you want to go?
Trigg Ferrano, welcome to the Provecho podcast.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Trigg, also known as TriggTube, is one of the most fun and informative chefs to watch online. He's part chef, part teacher, part scientist, and part comedian, with a total of nearly 2 million followers. He's also the founder of Magmitt, which we will tell you more about soon. Trigg, for anyone who doesn't know you, what are some videos they might recognize you from?
Depending on the platform you use, because oddly enough, the ones that succeed are very different. But I did a series called The ABCs of Italian Food, which was 26 videos, A through Z, documenting Italian cuisine, recipes, history, culture. And that is possibly something people know me with just because that's 26 shots on goal that someone may have seen one of those episodes and for that reason know the series. But in general, they're just like, I don't do many specific styles that like I lean into that people would know me for, but I do a lot of like side-by-side tests, and then comparison videos, as you said, like scientific explorations, deep dives. But Italian food is typically the vessel that I cook with in order to talk about scientific techniques, skills, things like that.
What were you doing before this? And yeah, and then what do you do now?
So I think people come into content creation from like any angle. A lot of people in the food space come from the restaurant chef side of things where they say like, oh, I went to culinary school or worked in restaurants. I came from the other side where I knew filmmaking. I was a camera assistant, cinematographer in just general Hollywood film and TV for 5 or 6 years. And then kind of cooking was the passion and the interest that I had to add to my filmmaking skills, abilities, in order to make the channel kind of about something. But yeah, I was full on, working on set for 5 or 6 years in LA.
Wow.
To leading into the channel. So I just wanted to, be my own boss, step out, try my own thing, give it a shot in between jobs. And then as the time in between jobs became longer and I started gaining momentum, it kind of pushed filmmaking aside and became my main thing.
Were you always really passionate about cooking?
Cooking? Yeah, pretty passionate. I think most people who cook, the passion starts with just passion for eating.
Yeah.
So I traveled a lot. I lived abroad, studied abroad, worked abroad, did like a lot of stuff. And food was always the first access point to appreciating the other cultures and like having an elevated experience. And I mean, still today when I travel, food is probably like the number one thing I'm researching beforehand. But it was kind of that passion for eating that then became a passion for cooking, because I said like, oh, how can I recreate this at home when I was trying to bring back those dishes with me? How can I, eat the food that I want to eat if I have a hankering for something, rather than go out to a restaurant or buy the thing, which as a artist, struggling artist, filmmaker, you kind of like have to find the cheapest way to make ends meet. And so for me, that was cooking, where I said, hey, I've got time, I've got passion for food. And like, if I learn how to cook, then I can take my time and transform it into the food that I want to eat. And so, yeah, fully self-trained, mostly from YouTube videos, things like that. I learned how to cook. And so I think that puts me in like good shoes to understand my audience and say like, oh, I know what you're going through. I know the kind of things that you're searching. I know the issues you're having with those searches. So any video that I make is trying to be a video that doesn't exist yet, that I think would have helped me if like, well, why didn't someone just make that video? So that is kind of what puts me in the shoes of my audience.
Who are the people that you looked up to and were like cooking from?
Recipe wise, like Brian Lagerstrom, he's just like the recipe king, but like it's because he, as I was saying before, he came from the cooking side of things. I think he worked in owned a bakery, but then also just like has a culinary background. But for me, it's just like, and it's something that I at this point can tell, is this TikToker, Instagrammer, YouTuber making a recipe and showing you them making it, or are they showing you a recipe that they've tested and built? I think recipes can always get better with just like 2 or 3 iterations and like 2 or 3 trials to say like, you know, maybe swap out the sugar for something else. Maybe do it in a circle shape instead of a square shape. Like maybe try it in a glass pan instead of an aluminum pan. And like once you start practicing and learning, you start having an intuition on what changes will actually make that recipe better and accomplish the changes you want to make if you're a person who likes things more sweet, more sour, more dark, more light. And I think seeing the creators who test their recipes like Brian Lagerstrom, for me, are like, he's like a recipe inspiration as far as I know. Every recipe he's had, he's tested the iterations and he's giving you the best one that's there. And as far as like video styles, I mean, like Alton Brown is like the OG who I just grew up with. And like what he does where someone else can make a 5-minute video about roasting a chicken and it feels longer and it feels like it drags more than his 20-minute video. That's the same thing. It's just like one recipe, roasting a chicken, but because he adds the like entertainment structures to it and kind of tells a story along with it, you're more apt to, I think, remember and internalize it, not necessarily learn something, because I think you can still learn something from a 5-minute video just being like instructions. But for me, as far as like having it resonate with you and like inspire you to go and do it, it's like you need that pump up speech. You don't just need a coach who calls the play. You need a coach who is like, we're gonna get him back, we're gonna knock him, give you the pump up speech, and you're like, yeah, all of that is what helped us cross that finish line. Mixing tons of metaphors, but that's kind of how I do things.
Yeah. Is it stressful being such a trusted voice? Like, do you feel like, man, the bar's here now, every single time I do anything, I have to hit that bar?
Yeah, there was a moment where that kind of like hit me and struck me, and I've since pulled down the video. I'll explain why. But I was just like, I just made a video. I would have an idea, pull out the camera, make the video, run the edit, and put it out there and just be like, you know, if it's fun, it's fun. If I'm doing this, I actually had to pull 2 videos. But the first one where I realized like, wow, I have to watch what I say because people will listen to it, was I was doing a video about air fryers, and because I'm a filmmaker, I have like some VFX like skills. I can, you know, make little match cuts work. I can do camera trickery, make it look like I'm like grabbing icons, stuff like that. And so I wanted to make it look like I was putting my hand in boiling oil, because I was just like, I was talking about the difference between like the heat capacity of air versus the heat capacity of oil. And I was like, you can put your hand into a 350-degree oven and you won't get burned. So like, you know, I put my hand in the oven and I was like, and like for the video, even the oven's off, but everyone knows the idea of like, you can go, whoa, it's hot, but I can put my hand in and like keep my hand in there for 10 seconds. It's not a problem. And then I was like, but oil has a much higher heat capacity, so you can't put your hand in oil for even like a second. So I like made it look like I was putting my hand in oil, but instead I like put just like some like paper or some like wax paper in so that it bubbled, and then I put my hand into the cold oil, and then I like merged the shots. And in my mind, I was just like, surely no one is going to be dumb enough to put their hands into oil and be like, whoa, how did you do that? And I really don't think anyone did. I think people were not dumb enough to do that. But there were a lot of people in the comments who were just like, you need to be more aware of your influence because people are going to think they can do this. People are going to try this. So it was more so like the parental commenters commenting like, you need to be aware of your influence. There are kids on this app. There are people who don't know. There's someone who's going to try it. And like literally, if one person tried it because they were like, oh, TriggTube did it, like I wonder how long I can. It's like, you can't. Don't put your hands in oil. But I was just like, yeah, if one person did that, that would be a thing. And at that point in time, I probably had like 500,000 followers. But in my mind, and still to this day, I'm like, who are these 2 million people? Like you even said it, and I was like, I didn't think so, but I probably, if you do the math. But in my mind, I'm just like, I'm just making the video I want to make that I think is interesting, that I think the internet needs to fill in the gaps and help people. So if I just make those videos, so that was just a video where I was like, I just think this is a fun way to present what an air fryer does to help people understand if they need one or how to use one. And so like, it was a great video, but I pulled it because I was just like, yeah, you're right. I have more of a responsibility to actually help people in the right way than I did before. So that was when I realized, oh, I actually need to like do things the right way and not just have fun.
Yeah.
But I think I'll remake that video without that one shot, or say like, now when I do stuff like that, I just try to say like, do not try this at home.
So when did you start making or getting into video making?
Graduate school. When I was in college, I was mostly there to study like medicine, and I wanted to be a doctor, and that was like the passionate thing. That was the like, hey, this is my choice. I'd worked with a lot of orthopedic surgeons in sports, and so like shadowed them, gone into the OR, and thought, hey, this is going to be cool. So that was like very much like my path. And then I started studying languages, and that pulled me out to like the rest of the world and traveling. And then after college, I joined the Peace Corps, and then the Peace Corps kind of became the place where I was like, oh, what if I made movies? And so like my parents like justifiably got concerned, and like in a whole 22 years of my life where they're like, we support everything you do. I remember there was like a phone call where they were like, so you want to go to film school now? What's this really about, Trigg? Like, where's this going? Like, you were doctor, then Peace Corps, then languages, then Peace Corps, and now you're in the Peace Corps saying you want to go to film school. Like, where's this going? And it wasn't until I like got into film school and was like, hey, look, I got into a film school. It's one of the top film schools in the country. All of their students get placed within jobs. Like, here's their success rate, this, and that they were like, oh, this is actually a like viable career. And then I could explain to them the story as far as like, well, I have a technical knowledge, and filmmaking is actually very technical, and you have lighting, cameras, settings. So I was like, I have this technical brain like structure that I can apply, and I have this like creative fire that I need to do. That is what pulled me out of being a doctor, because I was just like, I want to do something creative as well. And I was like, and I love working with people and traveling. So like a job where I can do all of that is filmmaking. And I just discovered that filmmaking was a job that had technical aspects, people, social aspects, creative aspects, travel, kind of universality. So because it had all of those things, it drew me in. But it wasn't until I was 22, 23 that I kind of put all those pieces together and said, this is something that scratches all of my itches.
Were you living in China when this all came together?
Yeah. So that would have been like my first year living in China. I lived there for 2 years, and it was kind of within the first year, you already have to start thinking. It was a 2-year contract with the Peace Corps. So, well, I'm going to have to find a new job in 2 years, which comes really, really quick. And so within the first year, I was kind of like putting those pieces together and said, oh, I could do film school, but I would need to apply now. Mm-hmm. And then by the time the second year came, I was already into film school, knowing I can do that right after this, and had that lined up. But yeah, it was within the first year of living in China that I kind of saw those elements that I liked all come into a little bit more like strict relief. And I could say, whatever I do next, it needs to be creative, it needs to be social, it needs to be technical, mm-hmm. it needs to be productive, where like we can go down the rabbit hole of teaching. But going into the second year of teaching was like a real like mind shift for me, because all of my students who I'd like taught for a year left, and the students that came in were like day one level that my other students were. And I was like, I'm restarting. I was like, I'm doing the same lessons. I was like, I'm teaching the same people. They just have different names and different faces, but they're at this level again. And doing that rather than like continuing to grow really like messed with me to where I was like, I need to be in a career that like for me continues growing.
Right.
And if my day to day is like repeating, I was like, that's not going to work. And so filmmaking also allows for that, because every set is going to be different. Even if you're on the same show, you go from this stage to the firehouse, to the street, to the mountains, to the lake, nighttime, daytime. So like everything is going to be different. You're never just rinsing and repeating. So I knew that I was like, I can't do a rinse and repeat job.
Right.
At all.
Yeah.
Even on a yearly cadence, that was still like, what? This year is very similar to last year.
What made you want to move to China and join the Peace Corps?
Languages are kind of what brought me to China. I had studied French first my junior year of college, and I went to a French school, lived there summer, 2 semesters, and then I stayed for the summer afterwards to do a little bit more travel, but studied really for almost 365 days abroad, and loved it. And my brain was like, yes, languages, travel, learning, growth, culture. I was like, there's just so much so much growth that you experience when you are abroad, that I said like, I've got to do this again. And so immediately after coming back for my senior year, where you're already thinking about the next year, I was like, whatever I do, I've got to be abroad. So that was when I left my kind of like med school plan. And I was like, I'll come back to med school if I want to, but I know that like next year I've got to be abroad again. So every job I looked for after college was abroad, and the Peace Corps happened to come back and say, China, 2 years, do you want to go? And I was like, that's way better than this 1 year option in Austria or this 1 year option in Italy. I was like, 2 years in China, I can learn Chinese. This is great. And then I at least can relax for a year, not knowing that I have to plan the next thing. And so the Peace Corps came back with China. You just applied to Peace Corps. They tell you where you get accepted.
Whoa.
So
you were like, I just want to see the world and learn another language. You didn't care.
Yeah. So you discuss with them like what values you have, but they were like, we want to send you to French Africa. And because you speak French.
Right.
And I was like, I want to learn a new language. So if you send me to French Africa and I have another option to go to, as I said, like Austria was the other option that I had, it was like, I would choose Austria just because I'm learning a new language. I was like, that's the thing I really want to do next year. And I was like, but you're the Peace Corps. So I was like, send me anywhere else in the world where I get to learn a new language, and I'll probably do that because I preferred Peace Corps to the other option.
Yeah.
And so they came back and were like, how's China? And you get to learn Chinese. And I was like, that's the best spot. Chinese is like, growing in the world. It could be helpful to just have no matter what I want to do. And so I was like, yeah, that's an easy yes. So they came back with China, and they came back and said, we have a slot for you in China, but you leave in 10 days.
Oh my gosh.
Do you want to go? And I was like, and I think I was like, or it might have been like, you leave in 3 weeks, but yeah, it was like you leave in 3 weeks, but I was already had a like post-graduation Glee Club tour in Europe, like travel or like planned. That was with my university. And so I would have only been home for like 10 days and then turn it around, go straight to China. So it's kind of like, oh, like I'm going to graduate, go on this tour, come back 10 days, China. Do you want to go? Yes or no? Let us know in 48 hours, 72, whatever it is, because they have to start planning. So that was kind of how the Peace Corps precipitated, like very all of a sudden, and, said yes, loved it. Absolutely great formative experience that, is still part of my story, but like seems like a dream sometimes when you like think about how separate it is from my daily life before and after. It kind of just existed on its own 2-year like platform for everyone for everyone except for me, it's like totally separate. But for me, it's just like part of the core story.
Yeah, I actually was deep into your YouTube videos, and I saw your video
Lore.
from there.
Yeah,
It looked awesome.
Yeah, I keep that up, and I go back maybe once a month, once every few months to look at like comments to see who's actually going back into like
See the real
videos to see the video from like 2012. I think it's like why I opened my YouTube channel was I needed to share that video for the Peace Corps so they could show it at their recruitment stuff or whatever. Because I just like made that kind of for fun while talking to them. They were like, if you could make a video about your experience, that would be great. And I was like, oh yeah, I want to go to film school, so I'll practice making a video.
I wasn't sure if it was like if you needed that for film school or like.
No, it was talking with the Peace Corps because I like to this day, there are very few things I would just recommend like ubiquitously. It would be like, be kind. Like, put yourself in other people's shoes. But like, as far as like life advice, I would like give people, if someone ever comes up to me and they're like, I'm considering the Peace Corps, I'm just like, do it. I'm like, I don't know what your life, financial, familial, personal responsibilities or like, what would I say? Like who you are as a person. But I think that like the Peace Corps is such a flexible experience that in 2 years, which lifetime wise is both long and short, in 2 years, you will be a better person. So like if you, especially as a person in their 20s, if you as a person in your 20s can invest that capital in yourself for 2 years and just say like, well, no matter what, in 2 years, I'll be a better person, do it. And then you're at the exact same position you are now, but you're a better person and you're just 2 years older. So it's like, for me, that's like the easiest advice ever. You're not going to be more in debt when you leave because they cover everything. Like you're not going to be like any door that you have open for a job or anything like that. Like they are going to absolutely open the door wider for you if you come back and you say, yeah, I'm a Peace Corps volunteer. They're gonna be like, great, now we'd love to have you. Now like we're inviting you. So you don't lose anything, you only gain, and you can make the experience by talking with them whatever you want to be. I had Wi-Fi. I wasn't like walking to a well to get my bucket of water every day. It was like, and that was just because I was in China and that's the experience that was there. So no matter what you want to do, like there's a program for you within the Peace Corps, or at least there was. It's kind of getting gutted, but government cuts. But I recommend it to everyone.
How do you think it made you better as a person?
I think it gave me ownership of something. So I think it's really easy in America, I would say in middle-class America, which is where I grew up, to be 24, 25 and have said, I haven't done anything. I've been a part of lots of things. I've been a part of football teams. I've been a part of universities. I've started programs within my school or like been the president of the chess club. Like whatever it is, you're like, you can be a part of something, but saying like, what without you would have failed? Like what without you would have not existed? I think you can be 25 and say like, nothing. Had I not existed, my second grade class would have been the same. My college glee club would have been the same. My football team probably would have finished just about the same position in the state rankings. Like, what can you point to that like you fully owned as an entity? And I think the Peace Corps very much throws you into the deep end. It's just like, if you don't teach these people, they will not learn. There is not a teacher in that city, in that school, who can teach these kids English except for you. And so if you
were the only one in the whole town.
My town of like 300 to 400, 500,000 people, depending on how you count it, because these are China numbers. My town had 4 English speakers who were all Peace Corps volunteers, because one thing they do is they send you with another volunteer, so you're like, have a partner, a buddy system. So every school has 2 volunteers there. Very few have 1, but they make sure with the people before they send you that you're okay being the sole volunteer. So there are 2 volunteers there. We were staggered. So they're in their second year while I come as their first year, and they kind of get to mentor me, and then I notch up the second year and get a new volunteer to replace them. But you have this buddy, but it's the 2 of you at that school. And then across the town was the other 2 volunteers in the other school who we saw once every couple weeks. And then you saw your other pair buddy volunteer every day. But yeah, it's 4 people in a town of 500,000 people. And for my students, for most people in the grocery store, necks would snap and they would be like, you're the first white person I've seen not on TV. You're the first like non-Chinese person I've seen not on TV in my life. And so like it was far enough out that was an anomaly. But yeah, whatever the original question was, had I not been there, at least in my individual school, half of the students then like wouldn't have had the teacher. But the specific ownership came from the programs that you start. So like I inherited a glee club from the volunteer before me who had just started like 3 or 4 months. It was just like on its legs when he was leaving. He was like, hey, I'm going to kind of start this thing. And because I'd sung in college, I was like, naturally the Peace Corps was like, we want to put you there to like keep this going. And I was like, that sounds like something I can do. And so, I had to find the music, to run the rehearsals, do the trainings, bring the students in. So that was one of my like personal projects that I ran for the 2 years I was there. And then I passed it on to the volunteer after me. So that, along with movie nights, along with classes, obviously, along with office hours, and just the role of a teacher in someone's life. It's like I can point to a few teachers in my life that like if they weren't at that school, I could have, been a delinquent would be the nice way to say it. And my life would have gone on a totally different trajectory, but I had that person be like, hey, boundary, like I'm going to teach you the right way here. So I think being a teacher is that like ownership, and like, so being 22 and having 19-year-old students, but having this power gap said like, you now own their future. It's in your hands. That was like a level of responsibility that I think was very transformative, that now I think translates then to when you come back to America, you go, cool, I have the responsibility of myself in my hands. And like, what am I going to do with my life? And then you start having friends, relationships, and like you grow up and you just become more like an adult, and you realize, oh, this responsibility is something I need to like actively kind of like take on a little bit more. And now with the YouTube channel, with starting a business, things like that, that's now a level of like ownership and consequence and gravitas that I find the original source of was always those Peace Corps programs and projects that I started that give me the like comfort shouldering that load that you shoulder with Provetcho, having employees and things like that. That is, shouldering that weight is something you like need to train as you would shouldering physical weight and training your squats. It's like you get better at it from doing it. And the Peace Corps was the first time I had to like shoulder the weight of like consequence for my actions and my choices. And it kind of showed me how strong I could be if I kept doing it. And so I, willingly accepted a little bit more weight as time goes by. And here I am where I am now. And hopefully like when I have kids, things like that, I'll be able to shoulder that weight.
Yeah.
Because of all the training I've done, and I'll be ready for it. That's my, poetic telling of that Peace Corps origin.
Yeah. What was like the hardest part?
The hardest part, I would honestly say the hardest part of the Peace Corps was shouldering that consequence, because it was the first time I had to do it in my life, knowing like, wow, this is kind of make or break. It's on me.
Yeah.
Like if I sleep in today, those kids don't have a teacher. Gosh. Like, yeah, that's like, you can feel sick and you're just like, gosh, if I'm sick and I don't go to football practice, they still have practice. If I'm sick and I don't go to chemistry class, they still have class. If I'm sick and don't go to class where I'm teaching, they don't have class. Nobody learns that day. So like that consequence was definitely the hardest thing.
Okay, I want to talk about then transitioning from China to now going into film school, I presume. What was that, a difficult transition or pretty exciting?
Yeah, going from the Peace Corps to film school was strange, was difficult. I would say mainly the reason it was difficult was like I mentioned earlier, that's what made it really seem like a dream. So, you know, when you wake up from a dream and like you're talking to your girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever, partner who's next to you, and you're like, I just had the craziest dream. 2 sentences in, you're like, so I was flying this plane, and then all of a sudden we heard this, you can tell their eyes glaze over and they're like, this is bogus. I don't know what you're talking about. You're like, so there was this giant tree and it was like tons of different colors, but my hair was blue and gave me super, they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. For you, the most vivid, real experience ever. And you're like, if I just convey 1% of how vivid this was, you're going to be like, this is amazing. But you can't, because it's just your experience. That's what explaining the Peace Corps was to people when I first got back, because they'd be like, oh, like, what were you doing last year before film school, whatever? And I'm like, oh, I was doing the Peace Corps in China. And they'd be like, really, how was that? And I'd be like, well, and I would start talking within a sentence.
Traveled 3 hours to get blue cheese.
Let me tell you about the cheese guy. So like you start telling a story or just like what it's like, and you just see the eyes like glaze over and they're like, this is clearly meaningful to you. But like most of my classmates, I would say like 50 to 60% were straight out of college. Mm-hmm. They did undergrad and they went into grad school. And like, you know, whether they studied film before or not, it changed. But like for most of them, and so like it really created a gap where I was just like, I cannot like form the structured relationship because I have this like super meaningful experience to me that if I ever try to share that with you, it's just like, yeah, I don't get that. So, I mean, it's the reason that like when you leave a country, you like, if you meet someone who's from your hometown, you're going to be like, we got to hang out. Let me get your number. I was looking for that in a lot of my classmates and was just like, I can't bond over that. So then like, but the other half of the classmates who like had life experience and came back to film school, those became my friends. And those are the people that I worked with on projects and kind of like developed things. And so that was a lot of fun. But like film school was a like whirlwind of work that was like so hyper focused because it was a 2-year program, 3 semesters a year, no summer breaks. All you're doing is like working on other people's projects or making your own. I went to Florida State, where it's like very production heavy. Like you're not in a lot of classes where you're watching Citizen Kane and digesting it. You're just like on set making the movie, which is very similar to like, it's very good for preparing you for working in the film industry. Because you're doing in the film industry 80-hour, 100-hour weeks, just like week after week after week, at night, in the day, wherever the movie takes you, you have to show up. And so it's great at preparing you for that, but the 2 years just for that become this like glaze of like work that is hard to even like look back and pinpoint like, when did I learn that thing? How did I learn it? But you definitely like, by the time you're done, you're like, I know how to make a movie.
Yeah.
Like, because all I did for the last 2 years was work on set or in an editing room making a movie.
Did you have any of those hard skills before, or it was just like fully through right?
No, I remember the first class in film school was called like build a camera.
Whoa.
And I thought it was like, oh, we're going to like take a camera apart and like do the screws and stuff like that. Like you're building a camera, you're taking a piece of glass and like putting it in. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like doing how things work. But then we show up and like my camera, because it's a cinema camera, it's like this big. It's like,
yeah,
you know, the lens is the size of what I thought the entire camera was going to be, just like, and so I'm sitting there being like, I have no idea what this is. And then like learning stuff like, oh, when we're shooting a movie, there's a camera shooting you talking, and like I'm just talking to you, and then they move the camera and I have to talk to you again. I was like, I understood the idea of like take 1, take 2 until you get it right, but the idea of camera angle 1, camera angle 2, I was like, oh, of course they do that. And then the idea of like lighting to me was like all these things. I was very comfortable in the beauty of cinema. I loved movies. I loved storytelling. That's why I got into film school. I think they saw that within me. But the technical side of things, I had no idea what I was even supposed to learn. I was just, my the thing that brought me to film school was I was saying, I have a story to tell and I can understand storytelling in a way that I think makes me a good candidate to learn the technical aspects so that I can then actually cross the finish line and tell a story through film. And I think they saw that same thing. But man, I was lower than zero on the technical side of specific filmmaking, but I think I had a really good brain to learn it. So when they presented it, I was like, okay, I've got this. I know f-stop, t-stop, lighting, exposure, like editing, these techniques, these shortcuts, different programs. I was very good at just learning it, but I came in with nothing. And I came in with less than I thought I did. I thought I was like, oh, I can know something. And I was like, building a camera was very humbling day one, just to show like, I had no idea how films were made.
It's a beautiful thing to accept that you know absolutely nothing and are absolutely terrible at it. I feel like going in thinking like, oh, thinking I'm good or I know this thing, that's like easiest way to just be surpassed in every level.
Yeah, I wonder how similar that is to content creation, because I think it's similar in the sense that like I consumed a lot of movies.
Right.
I think my senior year, me and my roommate, we just watched like a movie a day.
Yeah.
And so that was just like what we would do. We would come back and be like, oh, come back from dinner, let's watch a movie. So I consumed a lot of movies. And you'd think, I could make a movie now, but you realize this is an entire technical aspect that you lack. I think content creation is very similar, where people will watch a lot of reels, a lot of TikToks, a lot of YouTube videos.
A lot of studying.
And just be like, I've watched the 10,000 hours rule. I've watched 10,000 hours of YouTube videos. I can make a YouTube video. And you actually sit down to make it and you're just like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
The technicality. I've taken photos, like now that people have cameras on their phones, they probably know a little bit more about lighting, things like that, than I did just not having a camera in my pocket growing up. But like when you actually sit down and try to make food look good with lighting, try to tell a story that keeps people's attention for longer than 60 seconds and realize not just how hard it is, but start discovering the technical elements that go into it, I think that it is really humbling to see how little you actually know from a consumer side of things about producing.
Yeah.
Like they're totally decoupled.
With that said, I wanted to pull up one of your very first videos and watch it with you.
This is horrible. I should take this down. This should not be this should not be findable. This is my first short.
American lasagna.
This is a great recipe. Like this
Great series.
This
Great
tasted
everything.
really good.
I bet it did.
This was a first recipe hit where I was like, oh my gosh, that tasted exactly like I wanted it to, and it was really, really good. Or actually, I had to remake the graham cracker crepes twice because they weren't graham cracker flavory enough. So I added the cinnamon and vanilla to like really make it taste like a graham cracker. Yeah, you could sell this at a restaurant for $40 and it would be reasonable as a dessert. I gotta remake this.
Yeah, honestly, awesome.
Now that I have actual camera making skills.
Oh, you got the loop.
Some things never change.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
I guess.
here your at was Lazy Susan Fusion.
It was.
Tell me about that name. Yeah.
If you want to go back, did you watch a Lazy Susan Fusion
Yeah.
episode?
I watched a couple of these
Horizontal.
shorts. I saw something on Instagram that was like you announcing it, but
Yeah.
yeah, tell me about it.
The plan. So I was working on set, as I said, for like 6 years. 80-hour work weeks are like rough.
Yeah.
In a food metaphor, I equate it to like, if someone says, what's your favorite food? I hate this question. Just name a
Ceviche.
ceviche. Great. Ceviche for breakfast. Okay, you're like, oh, okay, kinda. Ceviche for lunch, ceviche for dinner. 10 days later, you're gonna be like, I never want ceviche again for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
It goes from your favorite food to being like, something you can't stand just because you're overexposed to it.
Right.
That's what filmmaking was to me. I was like, I love this. This is great. And this was like, cool. How about you do it for 80 hours a week for 8 months straight? Because you're making a TV show, and that's what we do. And like, sorry, we have to work on Saturday today because we're shooting at a high school and they're closed during the week because they have classes. So now you're working 6 days and you're pushing 100 hours for the week. And you're just like, oh my gosh, like I hate filmmaking now.
Yeah.
So I still loved even when I finished filmmaking, but I was just like, oh my gosh, I need some kind of balance with this.
Right.
And so that's what made me want to start a YouTube channel, because then I said like, hey, I can still do filmmaking, but I can do a 40-hour week. I can take off Thursday because I want to do something on Thursday. And so that appealed to me. And then I was like, cool, I've got this idea for a show. I was like, and I would pitch it to people, and I still think it's a good show. And I was like, Lazy Susan Fusion. I take iconic cuisines, or like Lazy Susan Fusion, classic cuisines and iconic dishes mixed together to make a new fusion recipe. So I was just like, here's what I do. Like Sunday, or like at the end of the episode, I spin the wheels and I get like the next recipe, which this was like the American lasagna. And episode 1 was the Indian pot pie. And so you then start brainstorming. This is how like the video structure is. I think they were 5 or 6 minute videos, which is way too fast for the format. But I was trying to do one of these a week where I would make a new fusion recipe from these 2 Lazy Susan fusions, countries and dishes. So then, you know, you do Indian pot pie, you do, I think, Thai dumplings, then it comes in and you do the Chinese burrito. So making these really, really good recipes that are still some of the best foods that I've made on the show, because like all you do is take the best Chinese food and you put it into a burrito form.
The best vessel.
The best vessel, yeah. The best Indian food put into a pot pie, which that was like a chicken tikka masala samosa pot pie. That was like...
Did you plan this, or did you actually spin the wheel?
I actually spun the wheels. That was like that was an important thing for me, that like,
Yeah.
you can cheat, but in my mind, I was like, if I cheat, then I'm saying, I'm going to do this because it's going to be good.
Right.
And then if it's not good, it's on me. It was easier to spin the wheels and be like, Indian pot pie, I've just got to make this.
It's in the wheel's hand.
Yeah, I just got to see what happens. And so I was kind of like documenting that in making these videos. Throw the first one out, like family and friends watch it, dies. Throw the next one out. The family and friends that watched the first one are like, yeah, I've already seen this. So like just my family watches it. Then you throw the next one out and like not even your family watches it, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like no one wants to watch this show, Lazy Susan Fusion. And so that's when, and I think in my plan, like the plan was just like, I'm going to make a YouTube channel. I'm going to make a YouTube show. The show's going to be a hit. And then Lazy Susan Fusion, I'm going to be able to do like a competition. I'm going to be able to bring Brian Lagerstrom on, and we're going to both do the recipe. So we're going to spin it around, and it's going to be like, you have to make a like Spanish ramen. Be like, oh, okay, we both get a try, and then we go do it. So I was like, it's a competition show. I can be the host, and I bring 2 chefs on, and they both have to make like, I don't know, a Thai brunch. And like, I was like, this show could go for 10 years, and it could just be Lazy Susan Fusion, and that's going to be what I'm known for. So the original channel name was, so I changed my YouTube from, I think it was Trigg Ferrano, to Lazy Susan Fusion. And I was like, I'm going to be known as Lazy Susan Fusion. And then when no one watched that, I was like, okay, maybe I'll cut it into shorts. And I think I made it like even for Instagram originally, because it was square. And those actually started doing like kind of well, but I realize now they were just doing proportionately horrible, but shorts just get more views because people are willing to watch it. So I would get like 1,000 views on like one of those, and I'll be like, oh my gosh,
It's happening.
I got 1,000 views. I was like, the world loves my shorts. I need to make more shorts. So then I just started taking ideas that were good short ideas, making shorts. And those actually did well, not just 1,000 views because YouTube or Instagram is trialing it with people and then realizing it's horrible. Those would actually do like good numbers. And I was like, oh, I'm good at this. And then you slowly find your language, your niche, your ideas, your series, things like that. And you grow and you get better technicality. You get more of your own language. Like, that was just a popular song, and it was Valentine's Day. So I made this as like the Valentine's Day episode. But like, that's not my voice necessarily, is be like, oh, I'm going to do a Miley Cyrus, no voice, no face, hands and pans, mashup recipe with no instructions that no one is ever going to be able to make that recipe from watching that video. I was kind of like, that's not what I stand for currently, but I didn't know that when I made that. When I made that, I was just like, I just want to make a fun video.
Yeah.
And this is a fun recipe. And this is a fun song. So like, let's just all have fun. And now I kind of see a little bit more of like a purpose to the video that I'm making, and like, and the voice behind it, and like the brand behind it of what the channel represents. So
You mentioned,
I should take that down though. That's so cringe.
I think you should leave it up.
With like the branding,
really
like
cool
to be
to
like,
see.
oh, you need to know I'm Lazy Susan Fusion. Otherwise, like, people are gonna steal my videos. It's like you get so caught up with like just the stock graphics. Oh my gosh. But fire recipe. I will remake that. Yeah, I think, did I creme brulee it? Oh yeah.
You did.
It's so good.
Yeah, what are the things you changed from this video, like today?
Oh, I would actually explain the story behind it. I would say like, you know, lasagna, like probably structure it where like you can say like a lasagna is, and like I would probably make a visual like graph analysis and be like, let's analyze lasagna, stacked layers of bechamel, red sauce in like, with like the vehicle being like pasta sheets with a crispy Parmesan top. Be like, okay, so if we want to take each one of those levels, bechamel becomes cheesecake, like bolognese becomes raspberry coulis, I don't know what you would call that. Pasta sheets become graham cracker crepes. And now what we have is all of the flavors of a New York cheesecake in a lasagna. But what do we do about the crispy crust? Be like, oh, I've got an idea. And then I'll like creme brulee and have that be like a surprise thing. And I would actually give people the recipe, and I would actually explain why I'm cooking the cheesecake first is because this is not going to be a cooked recipe, but you need to cook the eggs. So I'll just like explain all those things so people actually like know how they could possibly make it, in the hopes that, and this is like one of the big things that Provecho does help with on the channel, is like people can make the recipe. Like, I would consider myself not an entertainment first creator. I would say I'm like an education first creator. And the only reason you need to know what the difference between baking soda and baking powder is so you can use it to make a recipe. Like, just taking that knowledge and being like, I know I can correct people now is not fun. But like, I want people to cook. I want people to make their recipes. So that's why I post the recipes. I link it. You can get it. You can subscribe, get on Provecho. You can cook the stuff I'm making. And so that's one that like, if you're just wanting to like wow a date or like have a fun party, man, making an American lasagna.
That could be the whole party theme.
Yeah, and if you can bring out like, I gotta find a way to maybe like make the crepes so that they're like big and square, but if you can, or you just like layer it in pieces. But like, yeah, you just like, if you bring that to a party and like, what is this? It looks like a lasagna, and you're like, it's dessert. Everyone will be like, that blew my mind.
Like, oh, is it an object or is it a cake, but reverse?
Yeah. Is it a lasagna or is it dessert? Yeah, but that's what, like, I thought it was going to be enough to show a lasagna. Like, I'm sure people watching this before they see the recipe just go, oh, he's just making a lasagna. It's probably like hamburger meat and like American cheese. And they have no idea, like, that's a cheesecake.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was going to be, people were going to be like wowed by the visual of the cutting to be like, whoa, what is that? And lean in. But like, no, they're coming with no context whatsoever. Right. But I think giving the context of being like, nowadays what I would do is give the context out the gate of like the fact that this is a dessert and not a lasagna, because it looks so much like lasagna. And just be like, you know, this is a cheesecake lasagna. Like, that alone, people will be like,
yeah,
I'm in.
And that's a hook.
Yeah, they just go like, I'm in. Cheesecake lasagna, that looks exactly like lasagna. What are you talking about? That's a cheesecake. This is disgusting. And then there's of people in the comments being like, something's just off with this. Because it is. Eating it was really weird, because you're like, everything about this says this is going to taste like lasagna. And then you eat it and you're like, that is just
Sounds really
Everything
good.
about the taste is cheesecake. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. I gotta remake that. I'll make that for a party sometime.
What video, do you remember which videos started to take off? Like you had the Lazy Susan idea, switch it up. What started working?
American lasagna. This was everything. The first like, whoa, stop the presses video was. It's always hilarious how like such little effort. I had an idea. It probably went from like idea to posting within 24 hours, which is really fast for me. Normally it's like a month from idea to posting and like a week or two from shooting to posting. But I was just about to leave for a European trip, and I had this idea where I was like, I had done, I think, like an April Fool's video. Yeah, I did an April Fool's video, which I do every year, which is always fun, of like, so context. You know, everyone on the internet is always like fighting about carbonara. Yeah. So that kind of like, as a rebel, annoys me when everyone's like, no, you have to do it this way. And I'm like, you don't, and Italians don't. Like, none of these rules are real rules. So that kind of bugged me. So I was like, oh, for April Fool's Day, I'm going to post a like fake carbonara video, but I'm going to mess up everything. I'm going to break the pasta. I'm going to not use the right meat. I'm going to use heavy cream. I'm going to use the wrong cheese. I was just like, I'm going to use the wrong pasta shape. I was just like, everything's going to be wrong about this video. I'm going to piss people off, and it's going to be great because it's going to be April Fool's. So I think I made that video, and it kind of like got a bump, and like I had a few just like bumps that are just like, wow, that's a hugely successful video, but you can tell it's not like getting trajectory for the channel. And that did the same thing. And then I had a video being like, you know what? What if I made a video that was like, what was the correct way, but like satirically, I thought it would be funny to present it as like the 10 commandments of carbonara.
Yeah.
And so I presented that. I had this, just a few little ideas as far as like editing and scripting that I thought were really creative. So I was just like, yeah, like I'll do the 10 commandments of carbonara. There's kind of 10 rules. I can do it. I can make a cool loop. It can be a really tight script. I can get it in like under 60 seconds, explain carbonara rules, but as commandments and still kind of tongue in cheek. That was the first video that really started gaining momentum to where I would like put down my phone, pick it up in an hour and be like, I just got like 100,000 more views.
Wow.
While we were like eating dinner. And I'd be like, and I was in Europe the whole time. So I was just like, I'm just like on vacation. What the heck? And I was like, I'm not going to film or post anything for 2 weeks. And now I have this like huge, and I probably got like 10,000 followers from that video. It was like a few million views, but it's the followers that then give you like the pressure where it's like, people are now being like, what's next?
Yeah.
And I was like, I have no idea. I'm on vacation for 2 weeks. And then sure enough, you come back, you try to post something, it does not do as well. And you're like, it's over. All of them now know I was a one-hit wonder. This is the best video I'm ever going to make. It's done. That was such a clever script. I can't do that again. Well, let me try. And then like you try and it like totally doesn't do well. And you're like, none of this is going to work. Like, I'm done. That was it. My one good idea. And like flash in the pan. And I didn't follow up for 2 weeks. The algorithm killed me, shadow ban, whatever. You worry about all these things. And then you just kind of like keep making ideas. And now that's probably not even like in my top 20, top 30 videos. But that was the first one that kind of like got out of hand. For sure. 10 Commandments of Carbonara. Still a good video.
Sounds like a great video.
Yeah. Max the Meat Guy like got into my DMs.
Whoa.
Like he like followed me from that video. He was in my first 10,000 followers. And I remember just being like, hey, like, dude, big fan. Thanks for the follow. And he was like, yeah, that was a great video. That's really good. You're going to blow up, do good things. And so like since then we've chatted like maybe 1 or 2 times, but that was like a big moment to be like, whoa, people are seeing this, and someone who I think makes really good stuff thinks I make really good stuff. This is cool.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Do you remember how long it took you to get to that first viral video? And then second, like how many subscribers or followers you were at before and then, after?
The first viral video for me, and everyone's timeline is always different. Probably came around like 4 months in or so. I was probably at like 7,000 followers. I have the photos still in my phone. I used to take a photo every Monday when I woke up of like how many followers I had, just to like be able to possibly make a video one day of like it changing.
Yeah.
But Instagram's interface changes.
They've changed.
So
It's all
often.
messed up.
As I tried to stack them up for a video a while ago, and it was like, I was like, this doesn't look good at all, because it's just like jumping all over the place and sizes are changing. I was like, this doesn't work. I'd rather just VFX it, just the follower number increasing, so it's not as distracting. But all that is to say, I think I was probably at like 7,000. And that video, like, probably added 10, so probably took me like 20,000. And it's like, that 10K jump, that 10K hurdle is like a big one to go like, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. But that was only on Instagram. I don't think I even had a TikTok. And that video did not pull numbers on YouTube. It was just like...
It's so strange how one video will go insanely viral and the other.
Well, I have a theory, but that video didn't do anything on YouTube. And but I had like 200 subscribers on YouTube probably at that time, 300 maybe. Because all I was posting was Lazy Susan Fusion and then like how to cut an onion and a few like simple videos. But all that is to say, like, had no traction on YouTube. But like, it wasn't even until later in that year when I was probably at like 100K on Instagram from that video and a few others that I was still at like 800 on YouTube. And I had started the TikTok then, which was at like, 10,000. It was like kind of like moving along. YouTube was just like not moving at all. So I said like, you know what? I'm going to pause YouTube. I'm not posting anything. I'm going to get this giant backlog of videos, and then I'm going to post every single day on YouTube for 42 days. Because I posted like 2 videos a week. I was not a high frequency poster, and I'm still not a high frequency poster. And I don't think that like inherently matters. I think quality over quantity, you just have to choose your lane. But like YouTube, I just like couldn't crack any threshold. Everything was just like barely going through. So I backlogged a bunch of videos, came out, and I think I did like, it ended up being like 42 days in a row. And by the end of that 42 days, I was at like, 10,000 followers. I had gotten monetized. I'd had some videos go viral, but it took probably until like almost day 30 for that to happen. And like once that video hits, the video on like day 30 kind of like was like, whoa, you're doing good. Since then, like it gives you like a new floor, and like YouTube's great about that, where like when you have the library, when you have the support of the platform, when you have monetization, like all of these things, it's just like it keeps growing and the library is there. So I think I pulled that video down, reposted it, and now it's like probably in like 10 million views or so on YouTube, I would imagine.
Jeez.
But the original, same exact video, same exact edit, or I think I changed the edit a little bit just for computer's sake, but like the same exact video, just like 1,000 views, posted a year later when I have an audience, and it's like 10 million views. So like, I don't think the platforms are very different. I think the platforms have their differences, but I think they're mostly structured to benefit different people at different times in their career,
right,
in a different way.
Right.
And I think YouTube is very good at saying like, once you pass our quality bar and prove that you're good, we then love to share you with people. But until you do, we just have too much good content.
Right.
And I think the other apps have a lot more people, a lot more eyeballs of people just like waiting for a bus, who are just like, I'll look at something for 5 seconds. And so TikTok's like, how about this unknown person who made this video? And you're like, yeah, no, or yeah. But YouTube is very much like, we're not going to show it unless we already know you're good, and you get stuck in that catch-22 for a really long time.
Yeah.
For a longer time. So it's tougher to crack. But once you're on YouTube's good side, it's pretty great to just have genuinely a creative collaboration with like a platform.
Right.
Where you can talk to someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And get support and understand what their motivations are and how they overlap with yours. It's like, it's the only platform.
Yeah. Big time.
Happens.
So do you think YouTube craves consistency the most in the beginning?
I don't know about consistency. I think it's just
Do you think
like,
it's a quality thing?
I think, you know, the scene in Fight Club where,
It's been a long time since I've seen that, but maybe.
God, I can't talk
Oh,
so imagine this guy is like trying to get into a club, like a peace club. And so he goes up to the door of this clubhouse and he's like, I want to be a part of your club. And they're just like, no, you can't, we're not letting you in. Slam the door in his face, slam the door in his face. Like, he doesn't have to do anything differently. He just has to like sit at that door long enough, and eventually they'll open the door and be like, you've stuck around. We know you're legit. We want you to, we like want you in our club, and they'll let him in. So I think that new story I just made up out of the blue is what I experienced with YouTube, as far as like, and I don't think you should make the argument when you're standing on the porch. No, I belong in that club. I'm good enough. You don't make the argument. You stand on the porch. You like prove that's where you want to be. And so I think that's what YouTube is. It's like, as soon as you, if you feel like you should quit and it's not going to work and you quit, yeah, they should have never given you a chance.
right.
Like, if you were going to quit all along, why would they have invested in you, made you a channel, and then you quit after a year or two? It's like, no, you need to show that like, I'm here, I'm going to make the videos. And so for me, that meant a backlog to then say like, I created a strategy. For other people, it might be spreading out your videos. Rather doing it every day, be like, I'm going to show the consistency in a different way. And so I think for my specific channel, that was what YouTube needed to see to validate me. But I don't just recommend that across the board to say like, post for 42 days straight and you're going to make it.
Yeah.
It's like, no. But for me, I think that's what YouTube needed. That's what they were slamming the door on, was to just be like, we need to know that you can produce volume. And I was like, cool. For other people, it might be like, we need to know that you're going to produce quality. We need to know that you're going to respond to comments. We need to know that you're going to, you know, do long form and short form. Like, whatever their test is, they have the test. You need to just make sure that you're willing to like take and pass whatever test it is until one day they open the door and go, you're in the club.
I really like that metaphor.
That's my,
Yeah.
that's the best explanation I can make that isn't prescriptive.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's one size fits all.
Yeah. And there's a difference when that's your mindset of, I'm just going to sit by the door, versus, okay, I just need to bust through and make 42 videos and then I'm going to get in and I'll have made it. Like, it's the same thing where, oh, these guys are clearly just doing this because they want to cash out or whatever, you know? So.
Yeah. For better, I think there's something in the programming that can tell if you're a phony or not.
Yeah.
In YouTube specifically.
Yeah.
I think it's just a lot harder to like just make it as a shill. Like, even though there are the slop channels, whatever, it's like you do see like the slop channels will like, the ones where like, subscribe because every week I'm going to give away a magic spoon, is like, those will get 3 million followers. And then like those videos end up going to like 10K views.
Right.
And it's just like, they figure it out. Like, they can sniff out whether you're doing it for fun or not.
Right.
So I think you do need to be like doing it for you. And once you are like, no, I'm here for me. I'm not here for the views. I just want people to see the good video. Then that, it seems to be responsive to that.
How long have you been a full-time cooking creator for?
Technically 3 years, successfully paid, professional. I've been full-time for 3 years. I've been professional in the sense that I'm paid to do it for like about 2.5.
So did you just fully dive in then? For those first 6 months?
Yeah.
Did you stop taking, other jobs?
It was coincidentally the writers actors strike. So I stopped taking jobs.
Yeah.
But I also was stopped
Stop being jobs.
There were no jobs to take. I probably would have taken some had people been offering me to do 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I definitely was turning down anything longer than a week. I was just like, no, I have to do Lazy Susan Fusion. What are people going to do without Lazy Susan Fusion? The audience is going to revolt if I miss a week.
The people won't learn English if I don't do Lazy Susan Fusion.
It's my cross to bear. So I was turning down any job that wasn't shorter than a week. That was just, they call it day playing. So any job that wasn't day playing, I didn't do any full-time jobs. That was kind of the area I was in. And then the strikes happened, and I was like, oh, now there's no jobs. I'm just doing this every day. And then by the time the strikes were over, which they were long, but even well before the strikes were over, I was like, cool. I start to have some brand deals. I have an audience. I'm like, I can make this work. And I think one thing that I support from my channel is like, I started from the jump knowing I want this to be a business for me. Like, I want this to be my job, basically. I didn't start just being like, I just want to do this for fun. I was like, I need this to be my job. So whatever structure I build, there needs to be some kind of brand or affiliate or my own product like built into the channel somehow, so that I can make this my job and not have to do something else because I like it. I wanted to do it in a self-sustaining way. So I built that up from the jump, and which is why after 6 months I was kind of like, cool, the infrastructure is there. And then the holes that were open for a brand to come in, the brands could just like walk in and be like, cool, we'll hang out here. And like the first 3 brands I worked with, I still work with.
Wow.
So it's just like,
That's really remarkable. I don't think that happens a lot.
no, but I was like, I basically, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
I just thought of that. I built a brand shaped hole for like a knife company, and was like, I want to talk about knives on my channel. I want to talk about it in this way. And I want a brand that is a quality brand with legacy, with products that are affordable, but also products that are high end, to come in to be able to be like my partner on the channel. And I built this perfect shaped box that probably only 3 or 4 brands could fit into and fill out completely. And then sure enough, there were knives that came knocking on my door being like, we'd like to sell your knives. And I was like, you are a drop shipped BS company. I don't care what you're paying me. That's not the whole, you don't fit this puzzle piece.
So you started making not just one video, but multiple videos, thinking one day I'm going to have a partnership with a knife company.
Sure, absolutely. I built an entire channel saying, I'm going to have a partnership with a knife company. I'm going to have a partnership with a cookware company. I'm going to be able to have partnerships with ingredients companies, food companies, and then I need to make sure that those are good quality brands, because I reflect on them, they reflect on me. So I need to be a quality channel so that I reflect well on them and they want to work with me. But I also need to work with quality brands so that they reflect well on my channel, and I'm not peddling, total garbage BS off-brand drop shipped stuff that my audience then buys, wastes their money on, comes back and says, you're the guy that shilled that BS knife. And so the companies that I really built those puzzle holes for, to allow those pieces, there's really only 3 or 4 or 5 brands that can fit. So in my mind, I reached out to those 3 or 4 or 5 brands, starting at number 1 on the list and going down, because you don't want to reach out to 5 brands. They go, yeah, we'd love to. Yeah, we'd love to. And then you have to be like, no, to 1. Then you're never going to talk to that brand again.
Right.
So I went down my list, and cookware and knives, I hit number 1 on each one.
Wow.
They just said, we'll send you free stuff and then see where it goes. And I was like, I'm going to make you a freaking awesome video, and then we'll talk. And for both of those, big video went viral. Then they come back and go, can you make another video? And I'll be like, can you pay for it? I already have free stuff.
Yeah.
I already have all the knives and cookware that I could want. Now can you start paying for the partnership? And so so it grows. But I think it doesn't grow from a gift. It grows from you building a nest, probably like those birds on National Geographic. They build fancy nest with all the seashells and everything. And then the male or female bird comes along and goes that's a really good nest. I'm going to partner with you. I try to build a nest on the channel for brands to be able to come in and say, this is a nice nest. This would fit us really well. This is the kind of nest that we really like. And I'll be like, yes, I made it for you. I had you in mind. I had 3 or 4 brands in mind, but you were on that list, and you work with 3 or 4 creators. So it's a mutual open relationship. But yeah. And so and that just makes it so much easier on the channel to be able to be cool, I have a knife company And if someone asks me about knives, I know I'm giving them a good recommendation. And I'm not just saying, use this knife because they pay me to tell you to use them. I can be like, nope, use it because they're good.
Yeah.
It's really easy.
Super important, especially with the trustworthy. That's like a pillar of your business.
For sure. Yeah. And like, I definitely take that positive feedback to heart when someone says like, you're the reason I bought this cookware set.
Right.
And I'm like, cookware sets aren't cheap.
No.
So if someone spends hundreds of dollars because I told them to buy something, like, and then if they came back to me and were like, I had to return it because the coating came off, I'll be like, oh yeah, that happens. Like, no. But like, I stand behind it. So the amount of people that whenever they come back to me and say like, I love those pans you recommended, I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I'm really glad I chose the right brand to recommend that has happy customers. So
I know you work with Heston. Who's the knife company you work with?
Zwilling,
I thought it was Willing. Okay,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. Yeah, that's
which they're great because there's Zwilling, Miyabi.
yeah. They have so many.
So they have a
different-
Japanese
yeah.
and a Western branch, and then they also have Henkel's, which is the affordable branch that uses the same, if not very similar steel to the Zwilling quality across the board. So like for me, I'm like, oh, you're into Japanese knives? Like, sorry, I only work with Wusthof.
Yeah.
It's like that would be great. Like they make great knives, not as good as Zwilling, but the broadness of their catalog is why they were number one on my list. Was I was just like, cool.
Right.
I can then make videos about Japanese knives. I can make videos about Bob Kramer knives if I work with Zwilling because Bob Kramer and Zwilling work together.
Yeah.
So it's like
It's really
that spectrum, which is one of their knives, is great to have access to with a brand partnership and not just be like, I'm specifically talking about this one coating, this one patented IP coating that's only on this pan with this structure and this format. You're like, then you're just shilling that one pan versus being like, I work with the stainless steel brand. So Heston's stainless steel and they have titanium bonded stainless. And it's like, I can talk about the entire line, their entire lineup of like their more affordable stainless pans to their like super, super high end top Michelin star kitchen pans. It's like, I can talk about that whole gamut while still being like honest about what I think are the best pans to work with,
Right.
which is stainless steel and not proprietary coating.
Yeah.
Not like the Trigg stick, non-stick.
Trigg Tech.
Trigg Tech, yeah. It's just like, I'm gonna have to make something up
Right.
to sell cookware that's not gonna poison you, but this and non-stick and durable and like make all these false promises. It's like, no, just stainless steel. Learn how to use it. Great company, great products, great service. And then I can export that kind of quality control to them because I know that they're gonna
Right. You don't have to worry
they're
about
gonna take charge of that. They're not gonna piss off customers.
Right.
And then those customers come to me and say, you're the one that recommended them.
Yeah.
They're going to treat the customers right. So
What's, if you feel comfortable sharing, like what's sort of a breakdown of how you make a living as a creator today?
I don't pay a lot of attention to it as I should, but to give you like the exact numbers, but I would say probably half is brand deals. And of that, probably 3/4 are long-term partners.
Wow.
So people who like, we do like yearly kind of agreements.
Yeah.
And then just go like, great, it's 5 videos for the year, or 3 videos, or this is the breakdown. And I like that because I can then schedule it out and know like, cool, I don't have to say yes to everything because I don't know what's coming down the pipe.
Right.
So I would say because of that, 40% is long-term deals, 10% is short-term one-offs where a brand just comes and says like, we need a video in a week. And I'm like, oh gosh, you had to have known about this earlier. So like, yeah. And then, but that's half is probably all brand deals. And then probably like the other 40% is, Magmitt's growing now. I would say the other 30% is, AdSense, which is just platform fees. So Google.
YouTube and
Google
stuff.
pays me for YouTube
Yeah.
per view because
Right.
they run the ads before, after, and during my videos. So Google's 90% of that, TikTok's 9.9% of that, and Instagram. Now Facebook is doing a little bit more, which is great, but Instagram's 0.1% of that, and Facebook is creeping up. It might be like 2% from 1% from YouTube, 1% from TikTok, but yeah, mostly YouTube as far as to say AdSense goes, and that's probably like 30% of my revenue, which is great because in my mind that's more reliable to just be like, I can make videos and get views, and I can toggle that number based on my output frequency if I want to work more before a vacation or whatnot, and that can typically like pay my rent, and I can like just live off that. And then the brand deals are great, it's additional, I can do stuff with it, like start Magmitt, which is the product company. And so now that is now not profitable yet because we've reinvested everything into the business. But as far as revenue goes, I'm probably making similar to my AdSense in product sales off of Magmitt.
Wow.
Yeah, but that all gets like straight reinvested because we just like have to get more colors, more product, like kind of make it better. So that's just how that how the product business goes, is you operate a loss for at least the start.
Yeah.
As you're building the system out. So ideally that becomes a little bit bigger, and then I can reinvest / even dial brand deals down to like truly the long-term partners and just say like, cool, I don't have to take the 1 week, because those are always the really stressful ones where they say like, we need it on Thursday, and you're like,
So ridiculous.
you're like, yeah, but you're giving me notes on Wednesday. It's like, those are just really, really tough from an operational standpoint to like, it throws a wrench into the gears of the channel, but it's a necessary part of, for sure, funding, the free videos for everyone, which I try to make I don't have gate kept content. That's just not my thing on the channel. I don't have the time, energy, or philosophy to do that. And so to keep all the content free, it's like, great, I'll take the 1 week sprint brand deal, but it's always so stressful. And so Magmitt would be able to be like, I could absolutely say no to those and just be like, no. I just keep Magmitt going in the back burner, and that kind of takes care of that 10% eventually.
So how did you come up with Magmitt?
Oh, well, I'll grab some.
And we should get a trick shot to the fridge.
Trigg shot.
It's a Trigg shot.
All right. Any day. They make good microwavable cookware. So the Magmitt here is a magnetic oven mitt. So I thought about it because I was living in a super tiny LA apartment that just didn't have any drawer space. And of course, I don't like keeping my oven mitts just like on the counter because I had even less counter space than drawer space. And so had my oven mitts in the drawer, was just like super frustrated having to get them out. I didn't like the fact that like my hot pad as well, I would be like, oh, I need to put it down there. So in order to just free up drawer space, make it more easily accessible, I stitched a magnet into the old version. I just like cut a hole, put the magnet in, like stitched a circle around it, and bought the magnets on like Amazon, or the magnets on Amazon, and just like had those on my fridge. And it worked for me, and I did it for probably like 6, 7, 8 years maybe.
Oh wow!
And I would like,
So it wasn't like, oh, this is going to be a business.
No, it was just my oven mitts.
Yeah.
And like, I customize a lot of everything in my kitchen, in my life, the way that I want, if I can build it, just because from being handy growing up, like woodworking, I did some like soldering if I needed to do any like electric work, stuff like that. So I always thought being handy was like important.
Yeah.
And then I just conceived, hey, magnets would make these oven mitts better. So I stitched them in myself. And then when the oven mitts would get grimy, dirty, whatever, after a year, I would like upgrade the oven mitt to a better one. And I would just like literally pull the magnet out, put it into the same magnet into the new oven mitt, same magnet into the new oven mitt. So I think I was on like generation 3 or 4 when I started the channel. And then a couple people in the comments would be like, are those oven mitts sticking on your fridge? How are you doing that? And I was like, oh, people are like interested in it. And I was like, kind of like, I was talking to a friend about it, who's very like business minded, entrepreneurial. He was like, you should make a product for the channel. And I was like, I don't want to do merch. I don't want to do my knife set. That's just a drop shipped knife, BS, whatever. My, plateware. I'm like, plates already exist. They've been fully optimized. Great plates are out there. I was like, I need it to be something that is beneficial to make. Otherwise I don't need to make it. That's how I approach videos. That's how I would approach the product. And then he was like, well, what product would you make if you made one? And I was like, one that I'm unsatisfied with that doesn't exist is magnetic oven mitts of the quality that I want. Some companies do it. I was just like, I don't want to have that shape of oven mitt. I don't want to have those materials, but I want to have a magnet in my oven mitts. So I was like, you know what? I can just make it myself. Or he was like, why don't you just make it yourself? I'll do the businessy side that I was pushing off, and you can do the creative product development, outreach marketing, brand, voice, all that other stuff. So I was like, sure. So we started ordering samples. Samples sucked. They were horrendous. Then we just said, you know what? He and I lived in China. We were in the Peace Corps together. We were both like, hey,
No way.
we speak Chinese. Let's go to China. Let's meet with the factories. We went to the Canton Expo, which is this like 5-6 football field size convention of just every product you could possibly imagine. Found all the people who had any oven mitts in their display stands, and we're just like, can you make these oven mitts? These are the materials we want. This is like our dream oven mitt. We brought them. I brought like different samples from other different brands that I liked. Said like this material here, this shape here, this customized shape here, because like our thumbs are tapered so that like you only fit one finger in here, but every other brand has this like half moon here for just like,
you don't know which
sock puppet, and you're like, that's not how people are shaped, and all of that extra material gets in the way. So I was like, no, cut off the material, heavy canvas, ribbed silicone, magnet where you can't see it, unstitched and like stealthy. That was like really hard to find a brand that would do that. Everyone was just like stitching the outside, and I was like, yeah, you can see the stitching. I want it to be sleek. So found a brand that could do it out of like the 5 vendors we met with, coordinated with them, and ended up getting like the samples how we wanted, and initially launched black and blue. These are the first 2 colors. They were really, really important for me, just because black is like standard, and this is what my audience voted for, and blue was the one that like I wanted the most. So if the business failed, I would at least have like my dream oven mitt, because like this is my dream oven mitt. And I was like, cool, one way or another, I've made myself happy for the rest of my life, because I'll have thousands of these if I can't sell them that I can use for the rest of my life. And then people really liked them. And so we made, we tried to get it in time for Christmas, as you can tell by the color scheme, but they did not arrive until like February, because I'm figuring out how to do a business. So we got the Christmas colors that are now available with the original 2. And so it's these 5 plus the a little show and tell, plus the mag pad that sticks on your pan so you can carry it around like your kitchen. So this is all like just trying to solve a problem, create a product that doesn't exist yet at the quality that I want it to exist in, and be able to have now like a mechanism to fund the channel and keep the channel like free for everyone, by also like by not just selling merch. So fans like it. This is something that people who don't know my channel have, I'm sure, bought this and will never watch one of my videos, but will still be like, this is a great product. So that's what I was trying to make. And then the final thing about Magmitt, to end the infomercial, is we work with a charity. So Feeding Families Foundation is the charity partner, because I had cancer in my late 20s. So in between, while I was working in the film industry, I was already out in LA. And that has always just like made me want to say, like, how can I kind of give back? Who are people who are struggling? Like, you know, like, and just like, it's really hard to solve problems. Like, you can't solve world hunger. You can't solve, you know, food scarcity, whatever, illnesses. Like, curing cancer is like its own big thing that I try to donate to help. But I was like, I like the charities that are just like, we're going to take a really bad day and make it like less bad. And so Feeding Families gives meals free, no application, no like vetting process. If your kids are in the hospital and you're with them, the hospital won't give you food. You have to pay for it. You have to buy it. Ridiculous.
Crazy.
This is America. But if your kid's in the hospital, you shouldn't have to think about food.
It's the last thing you want to be.
You shouldn't have to leave your kid to go to a restaurant to go get good food. So it's just like, they work with hospitals to just cover meals. So you can just say like, hey, send my kid their food and send me a plate as well. I'll have the chicken pot pie. They'll have the pea soup. So families are fed. And then they also work with local restaurants in certain cities around America. They're expanding awesomely because it's a great charity. But where they'll just like work with local restaurants, where local restaurants go, hey, we got Thursday, we're going to bring in lunch. And they just bring in good food for the people that's different than hospital food. For the kids who are like in the hospital for weeks eating the same food, it's like, oh, cool. Now we get like fresh pizza. Like, that's awesome. So I just think it's a really great charity that makes immediate impact. They're not trying to solve a huge problem. They're trying to solve an easy problem day to day. So like, we do a profit share with that. And that's just like one way that I want to like take the channel and be like, what can we do with this channel that lasts? I can make a good product that hopefully I just want it in like every kitchen, so that people who are cooking are like having fun throwing it, doing trick shots. Like, kids really like it to just like play around and have fun. And I'm like, yeah, get them excited to be in the kitchen. So a good product that doesn't exist came into being because of my channel, and a good charity that is doing good work is being funded through my channel. I'm like, those are two things that I really wanted to accomplish this year that I've kind of put on their legs and want to just like start walking on their own and start doing their own thing. Because like, the more I can give people good things that last, and the more I can support programs that help people, the more I'm just like, I don't have to worry about whether I'm doing the right thing or not.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about whether I'm just like a shill influencer who's like making videos and it's all about my ego and whatever. I'm like, no, I'm trying to do the right thing with any influence that I have is like really important to me. So, and I think that all stems from Peace Corps, stems from like my personal experience with cancer, stems from the way that my parents and teachers raised me. It's like all of that for me is like the holistic story of where I want to take TriggTube in the future, which isn't much further than it is now. It's just doing more of the things I'm doing now.
Do you feel like having cancer changed your career trajectory?
I think it changed, having cancer changed my, I'll say it without the Magmitt stuff. Having cancer changed my personal life trajectory a lot more than it changed my career. Career-wise, I think it's the nature of time. I had cancer when I was 27. 27 to 28, almost into like being 29, in my life was like defined by cancer, going to get chemo, radiation. I had to leave LA, live with my parents, do all of that stuff. I can't go back and be 27 again, be 28 again, and be like, cool, redo. My career, I paused, I left, I came back, I restarted. I was in literally the exact same place. I had the exact same job. I was working in a camera rental house when I got cancer. I left, I came back. I was in a 2-year program, and they just said, cool, now you're just like slotted 6 months later. So it delayed my career 6 months. Did it change the trajectory? No. Did it change the fundamental future distance that I could go? I also don't think really, no. Because everything was just like delayed 6 months. So unless I work until I die, it doesn't delay my ultimate, like the ultimate distance I can carry that career. But as far as like my personal life goes, it's like 27, 28, 29, you're dating. You're meeting the love of your life. You're out in the world. You're socializing. I was in a new city of LA. I just moved when I was, I think, 26. So I was like, that was my chance to like build my social group in LA. And so like not doing that, if you then come back and you're 29 and you're like, and like for me, I came back and I was like 29. It was like, I think 31 was COVID. So from 29 to 31, I had 2 years to be like, okay, let me build a social life in Los Angeles. Let me kind of like meet people. Let me date. Let me, build my life. And at that point, my friends were like, we're 29. I have a girlfriend. I'm getting married. I have a kid. And I was just like, well, I probably would be there if I hadn't had cancer, because I had to like take 2 years off and be like, I'm not dating anyone.
Yeah.
Like, this is not the time, because I didn't start cancer like with anyone. So it was just like, those 2 years were a lot more important, because you can't unpause the way that you can with a career. Where you can unpause a career and you're where you left off. In like life, it's all the kids in COVID who lost like their senior year of high school. You lost your senior year.
Yeah.
There's only 1 year in your life that's your senior year in high school. There's only 1 year in life that's your freshman year in college. Like, there's a lot of years in your life that are similar to when you're 36. Like, I can tell you, 36 and 37, pretty dang similar. 63 and 64 are also going to be pretty dang similar. But 26 to 27, I think there's a big difference. 27 to 28, 28 to 29. And so 27 to 29, I think those 2 years, I just lost what those 2 years are about for most people, which I think is settling into your social group in a new city, in a new career, in whatever it may be. You're kind of like finding your stride. And I was kind of like, oh, I'm finding my stride, stutter. Yeah. Oh, I'm finding my stride, COVID. And so like, yeah, that's the only lasting effect. But I would say for me personally, I always try to look at it as like the stuff that I gain from it. And I would say like the silver lining is like, when I look at the time that I have, I see it way more valuable and appreciate it way more than someone who didn't have that experience. I see my 30s as fleeting, as something to be cherished, as like, I see my relationships as something to be cherished and valued more than most people who I think just naturally, as humans, I think we're supposed to take it for granted. Yeah. We're supposed to be like looking to the future or like reminiscing in the past. That's just what we're programmed to do. And I find myself much more like appreciative of the present than most people, because I've had that experience where like time collapses into the present is all you have, and you need to address this life or death situation. And so I think having that sustained for 2 years has like permanently changed just the way I think about the present and the people in my life and the things that matter. So it's arguably stunted my career because it made me unwilling to work a job that I don't like anymore.
Yeah.
Because I'm not working for the Oscar when I'm 50.
Right.
It's like, that doesn't exist. What exists right now is like your girlfriend who like is bummed that you have to cancel Saturday night dinner because the show didn't finish their shoot. And so you have to work on Saturday now. And I'm like, no. I'm like, that's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it for the eventual promise of maybe getting an Oscar. It's like, I have a girlfriend. I'm going to do right by her and not do right by Oscar.
Sorry, Oscar.
Who doesn't even know I exist yet. Yeah.
Is there anything strange looking back about, the time period you had cancer that just was like burned vividly into your mind?
Strange? What would you think would be strange about that period?
Well, I just have no idea at all. Like, I haven't, I think you're the only person I know that's, at this age gone through it.
I told a story on my channel where while like a specific moment where I was just kind of like, you have your Kaiser Soze moment. A specific moment where I was actually in the hospital. I remember walking around and like everyone on my hall, because I had colon cancer. So like average age of my like hallway was I think like 78, something insane. And I was 28. All of my doctors, every single one of them, I don't know if they thought it was interesting or fun, but they'd always be like, you're the youngest patient I've ever had. And I was just like,
fuck you.
I was like, cool, world record, chat. Like, I'm happy for you. So I was just really, really young, that is to say. And I think the easiest perspective to have, and the perspective I did have for a lot of it, was just like, damn, like, I didn't get to get married and have kids and have a career and, travel the world and like live and do all these other things, like all these 78-year-olds. And the 78-year-olds, like some of them are like crying in the waiting rooms with their kids being like, oh my gosh, it's too soon. I'm like, shut up. You're on borrowed time. Like the average age of women, men, whatever, it's like 72. You're too old. Like, get out of here. You're 80. You've had your time. Like, don't cry. Move on. I still have my life to live. This is unfair for me. So that was my perspective for a really long time. Not for a really long time, for a couple months. And then when I was actually in the hospital after my first surgery, the floor below me was like pediatrics. And it was like kids with cancer. And it was just like, when there's a 10-year-old who's on the same like mandatory walk with their IV, and like you can like see them through the window to like down on the other level, and I'm just like, dang, like that kid is looking like up a floor and being like, that kid got to go to prom, that kid got to like kiss a girl, that kid got to go to college, make a movie in film school, join the Peace Corps, travel, learn a foreign language, like live abroad, rent an apartment. Like he got to do all those things, and like that little kid might die when they're 14. Like, I don't know. I just think the idea that they can look at me and think, why didn't he appreciate that, was like a very like poignant, strong lesson that I learned instantly, of just like, dude, like you cannot look at your life and say, I'm unlucky, I don't appreciate, I should have had so much more, I'm entitled to more. Or it's like, you have so much. I think for most people, I think I had more than most would, just with how I had lived my life and what I'd been like, given. But I think most people have enough to look at and just be like, I'm lucky. There's someone in the world who would love to have what I have. And if I don't appreciate it, like that's a very like an inconsiderate thing to do for yourself. Like, be considerate to yourself and appreciate what you have. Like, gosh, because some people don't have it and you may not have it. So that was definitely like a story that lives in my like specific memory, as far as like a takeaway that I hope I just remember forever. And sometimes I lose track of it when I'm stuck in traffic, and I go back and I'm just like, I have a car.
Yeah.
Like, I could be in a bus in traffic right now. I have my own car. This is great. Like, this is great. Yeah, there's nothing to be upset about.
Yeah.
If you actually want to be truthful about your life.
Very empowering.
Yeah, I guess that then makes every other conversation and, talking about...
So, tell me about...
talking about recipes and followers
Yeah.
then like seems trivial, but I would say the other thing I learned that's a little bit more of like a jumping off point, because like life can't all just be like heavy and like I just appreciate. It's like, no, you need to validate that you're just like frustrated, upset. You know, like you have a stomach ache. It's like, you can't be like, oh, I'm so glad I have a stomach though. Ugh. It's like, no, you're gonna feel crappy. The other thing that I always like think about is, I'm just like, what's for breakfast is like a good like centering question, where it's like, I've had people in my life die. I've had heartbreak, things like that, as everyone has. Like, you still like have to eat something. Like I always think of like the Dark Knight, and it's like the Joker. He had to like put on the makeup. It's like there's a scene that's not in the movie of him just being like, oh gosh, oh, I'm out. I need to go, I don't know, steal some more. But like he ran out of makeup one time and was like, if I want to do the rest of my face, I need to get more makeup. It's like all those little things in your life, like they do exist. You have to address them. And for me, like one of the first things when you wake up in the morning, you're just like, I gotta eat again. Like I'm burned some calories while I was sleeping. Stomach is empty, feeling hungry, gonna get cranky if I don't. And like stop working as a machine, so gotta eat. What's for breakfast? I think you can wax and wane philosophically about life and the lessons and the pain and the success and the heartbreak and the joy, all of those other things. But at the end of the day, you're eventually gonna have to sit down and be like, cool, so like what's for breakfast? As we will after this, like what's for lunch? It's like you have to address those day-to-day questions. And I think life for me is a balance of those two things, to do them both in the best way possible. To answer the question of what's for breakfast in the best way possible and make a really, really good breakfast that sets you up for success in the rest of your life. And what should I appreciate in my life? Answering that question the right way and setting yourself up mentally in order to like be happy when you're eating breakfast and not be miserable, and be happy after breakfast so that you can like have the energy to appreciate your life. And I think that kind of circle of small problems and big problems is what life is. And that's always going to be hitting you the same way you need breakfast every morning. I think you're going to get hit with a big problem every day that you have to like define yourself by and say, how am I going to solve this big problem? And how am I going to solve this little problem?
Yeah.
So it's always a mix of those two. Any conversation, any podcast is going to be a mixture of those two, big problems, small problems. And I think you shouldn't ignore one at the expense of the other in either direction. Like that's how I try to look at things now in my late 30s. From what I know, talk to me in 10 years and see if I still think the same way. We'll see.
In 10 years, do you think you're still going to be a cooking creator?
I hope so. I hope it looks...
You're going to be the CEO of Magmitt Empire.
I hope Magmitt still... I like... My dream for Magmitt is just like... When shoes were invented, people probably... Or like shoelaces. People are just like, you don't use shoelaces? You've got to use shoelaces. And now people like don't even think about the person who invented shoelaces. But like somebody did. I just want people to be like, your oven mitts, you keep them in your drawer? Why would you do that? That's like wearing shoes without shoelaces. It's just like, sure, you can do it, but like, you don't have to. That's what I want Magmitts to be. It's just like, even if we get knocked off and every brand is just putting Magmitts in from now on, I can just look back and be like, I was the one who popularized it. I didn't invent it, but I want to have popularized it and been like, it's stupid to not do this.
Yeah.
That's the idea I want to get out there.
Yeah.
But for the channel, I would hope to just be in like a small team in 10 years. I think one of the main challenges of being a creator is that you do it all solo. I'm currently like the only person on my channel.
That's crazy.
Film, edit, light, write, do that. I have a manager who does brand deals, emails, but then I'm the one that actually like talks to the brand and does the other stuff once the contract's been figured out. But yeah, I would just like to be able to, work with a few of the friends that I have from the film industry and take them out and be like, edit for me instead of for the TV show. But right now I can't make it an offer that's more appealing than the TV show.
Right.
But yeah, just be able to collaborate, I think a little bit more would be fun for the channel. And then with collaboration comes the ability to do a few more bigger things where like I really want to do a show. I have an idea for just a pizza show going around the world, eating pizzas and showing how different countries are like interpreting it. It's kind of like a back burner idea I've had for a while. And I'm making episodes within the US like at a rate of one a year, slowly. But yeah, just like ideas like that where I could actually like do a travel show, do a bigger built out thing. But if the media landscape looks the same as it does now, like I still see that living on YouTube and being free and being on my channel versus being in partnership with a legacy studio. I think it's much more fun creatively to make it myself.
Do you think about AI at all? Especially like, you know, we talked earlier, one of the big things that...
Gonna get me canceled.
What?
Gonna get me canceled
Never mind.
talking about AI. There's not really a good take you can have. You can't be anti, you can't be for. People are gonna jump on you either way, but I do have a take on AI.
What's your take?
I think it's very good at being both a bad employee and a decent CEO. I think it's really bad at being creative. I think I've tried it because I'm always like, hey, if it's a tool, let me try. Just cannot do things that are really creatively insightful or intelligent. But I think it can be a pretty, I would say not even a bad employee. It's an excellent bad employee in the sense that like you have to check their work
Every single time.
But can you give them a task? Yeah. If the task is easy, even a bad employee can like get you a coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. You just say, go pick up my coffee from Dunkin'. A bad employee can go to Dunkin', pick up the coffee, bring it back to you. That's a task it can do. Not physically, but we're in the metaphor world.
Yeah.
I think there's so many things that are just like, this is taking a lot of time. I mostly use AI for Magmitt related stuff at this point, where I'm like, hey, compile like the list of competitors in order to like present a draft to me, showing sales, showing color options, showing this and that. That would take me 2 hours of research and like time to execute, or it takes AI 5 minutes, and then it takes me 5 to 10 minutes to check its work. But that still is just 5 to 10 minutes of work for me versus 2 hours of work. So it saved me, over an hour and a half. But like, if I just trusted AI with that would be bad. You don't trust the bad employee who brings you the spreadsheet to like, that the spreadsheet's correct. You have to look at it, but like you tell them, hey, take all these expenses and put them in the spreadsheet. And then you look through and you go like, why is this $140? And it's like, oh, sorry, I'm at 14. It's like, you have to check their work. And then I think it's also been a pretty good like CEO, because I think CEO is not particularly a creative position. So I don't know much about profit and loss sheets, balance sheets, taxes, corporate structuring, working with charities, write-offs, taxes, I think I even said, but it's worth reiterating. It's like, I don't know any of that financial business stuff of like how to start a corporation. But with Magmitt, I had to start a corporation. Yeah. AI is great at doing that stuff because it's just going through a process, and it knows, hey, as a corporation, you get these benefits. As an LLC, you get these benefits. This is what I would recommend based on that. What are your goals for the company? How can you do this? But then like, if I ask it like, give me a good ad copy, give me a good video idea to sell Magmitts, horrendous. Like my bottom of my boot idea is going to be like miles past what AI can generate as far as like something that's creatively, humanly engaging. So I don't even go to it for that anymore. It's just like such a waste of my time versus CEO responsibilities. Pretty good, which in my mind, CEO is a job that should get replaced by AI before artist.
Yeah.
And that's just like having an employee that, I wouldn't be able to hire an assistant for the channel. I have to do all those menial, stupid things myself that take 2 hours, but I can actually delegate that out now, and that gives me more time to be creative. That's how I think I'm using AI in the right way, and not just being like, make a video of me flying on a dragon. It's like, that doesn't need to be done. That doesn't help the world. But if it frees up time for me to make a creative video, for me to, build more with Magmitts, ideally that then does make the world a better place and justifies any other involvement with AI. And that's at least the line in the sand that I draw.
Yeah.
That's where I stand.
Makes sense. Hopefully you don't get canceled for that.
Don't cancel me. Don't cancel me. You can't control that.
Okay, for speed round, who's a dream person you'd like to cook with?
Gotta say Alton Brown for that. That'd be crazy pressure. I would like to cook with him, not for him.
What's your last meal?
This morning I had oatmeal.
Or no, sorry. Like if you could have, you knew.
I got you. Lasagna.
Cheesecake or normal?
Lasagna for dinner with lasagna cheesecake for dessert. Probably a cheesecake for dessert. But yeah, I would just say like a full from scratch lasagna.
What's your least favorite food?
I got a few. Bottom 3, tuna fish, like canned fish, not like a sushi tuna. Canned tuna fish and dill pickles, just like pickle out of a jar.
Do not give this guy a tuna salad.
Vomit. That might just be like the bottom one because it is the true combo. I would say and mayo.
Oh my gosh, literally.
I would say tuna salad would be the absolute bottom number 1 because it's the combo of my bottom 3.
Dang.
Gross. That's one reason I could never do a food travel show where they're always like, oh, eat this, like try the burger at this restaurant. I would be like, take half of this off. I cannot eat this on camera without throwing up. This is like, I'm pretty picky when it comes to food from like restaurants and things like that. I like customize it a lot. And I always watch those travel shows and go like, I would never like that.
Yeah.
Never.
It's very brave of you for saying that. I feel like it's a contentious thing being a cooking creator sometimes.
To some degree, as a cooking creator, you're like not allowed to be picky about food because they're like, oh, I thought you'd like love everything. I'm like, no, I'm pretty picky. That's one of the reasons I started cooking for myself because I didn't like
cook the stuff
the
I
food
like
that was given to me just default.
All right, man. Well, that's the podcast.
That's the speed round?
Awesome. Yeah.
Oh, I thought the speed round was like 10 rounds.
What's your most polarizing take?
If I keep it about food, waiting in line for any restaurant, I think is baloney. Never wait in line for a restaurant. If there's a line, it's hype. There's a better restaurant that doesn't have a line, that needs the patronage, that will make you happy. And the waiting in line is just like not worth it.
It's honestly a really good take.
It's a hot take. Yeah, I'm just like, and there's still good restaurants that can be worth it for other people. But like my hot take, it's never worth it to wait in line for a restaurant.
Yeah.
Wait line longer than 5 minutes.
Okay.
If they're just trying to like.
Yeah, those people, they want to wait in line. They want to be able to say for the next 6 months, oh, I went to blah, blah, blah. And I waited 4 hours.
Every line I've ever waited in for longer than 10 minutes, I've been extremely disappointed with the food.
What's your favorite restaurant?
Worldwide?
In the history of the world.
Best restaurant, best meal I've ever had is La Côte Saint-Jacques in Joigny, France. It's in Burgundy. It's like an hour and a half train. Easy to get there outside of Paris. But it's like the day trip. It's a 2 Michelin star now. It was a 3. I do not like Michelin star restaurants. I would say I've been to 5, 6, or 7. This was the only one I would like die to go back to. This would be like, if I could eat like last meal at a restaurant, I would go to La Côte Saint-Jacques. I would just be like, you have to take me back there. It's just like everything was so unreal.
What did you have?
10-course tasting menu with alcohol, with wine pairings. It opened my eyes to like wine pairing as well, because you just like, you realized, oh, this is like a part of the dish. Like it was impossible to ignore how well they went together. I've had other wine pairings before at restaurants, and you just like have it and you're just like, this is just a wine and food. But like there it was truly like, I was like, oh my gosh, these really go well together. But they had like, it was kind of like elevated takes of either like French classics, but like very like Frenchified. There was this lobster dish, lobster blanquette. That was like crazy good. They gave me the recipe. I still have to try to remake it.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy complex.
Sure.
It takes like 2 days and 14 people in unison. So I'm going to have to collab with someone to do it and be like, you're in charge of this. But yeah, it was just like sweetbread, which is a gland of like, so like all these like really weird ingredients that were just like so unbelievably tasty and not good because it's like, wow, you made this out of a shoe, recycled shoe. Like, that's impressive. I feel like that's what a lot of other Michelin star restaurants are. It's like, I never have eaten this caterpillar before, but when you breaded it and did this and made it into a foam, it actually tastes interesting. This was just like good.
Yeah.
But fancy. So like to be able to do both of those with a wine pairing was like so elevated. La Cochon Jacques. Love to go. If I go back to Paris, taking the train.
All right. That's the pod.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is so fun.
Ooh.